Hey, Radiant family, let's talk for a little bit about what it's going to look like to live and to do ministry and to share life together while apart. I want to give you just a few points that I've been thinking about. This is not a sermon, and this will just be a few minutes, but I want to give you a framework for thinking about how we're going to live life under the circumstances that we're under right now, where we have to stay apart socially for the most part, and we can't gather together in any significant numbers. The first thing, and you've heard it so many times, but this really is the first thing: don't fear. Don't fear. I think many of us are tempted toward fear, not so much of the virus itself, but because of the economic implications of all this. We have people in our own church family who are already either losing their jobs or having their income reduced because of the overall slowdown in our society. So that naturally tempts us toward fear. But I want us to remember what Paul said to Timothy in 2 Timothy chapter 1. God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and love and of self-control. This Sunday, in our first Radiant House Church service, we're going to look at that text, and we're going to resubmit our hearts to the Lord and commit ourselves to love instead of fearing. So remember, John said in 1 John chapter 4, perfect love casts out fear. God loved us first, and now we can love Him and love others because He has poured that love into our hearts, and that love will drive out fear. So the first thing to remember is love, don't fear. Second, commune with God. The fear that we are tempted to in a crisis like this can be very powerful, and you may wonder, how can I chase away fear like this? The answer is go to God. God has spoken to us through His Word, and He will work in your heart through His Word by the power of His Spirit to calm those fears and to draw you close to Himself. The psalmist says in Psalm 119, your word is a lamp to my feet and a light to my path. If this is a time of confusion and uncertainty for you, go to God's word, the place where we find comfort and we find direction for life. In Psalm 27, David said, the one thing that I want most in all of life is to gaze upon the beauty of the Lord and to inquire of Him in His temple, which is the same thing as saying to pray to Him, to go to Him and commune with Him. So let's do that during this time. Spend specific and intentional time every day in prayer. Get your spouse involved. Pray together with your husband or your wife. Get your kids involved so that your family prays together and brings the situation to the Lord. Your kids will have lots of questions during this time, and use this opportunity to draw them to Jesus and to help them find the same comfort that you are finding as you commune with Him. Next, from the strength of that communion with God that you're having, share your life. Share your life with others. We are already so connected together as a church. I love that about us. But we have to work at it, be intentional about it now to stay connected to one another electronically. And the first and most important thing about staying connected this way is to share the spiritual journey that God has you on at this point. What are you learning from these times of communion with God? How is God shaping your heart? Be honest and confess to one another, I'm really struggling with fear these days. I'm afraid of what might happen or what is currently happening. My income is going down or whatever it might be. Share that with one another. That's what we do in community, both give and receive that love that God has poured into our hearts. So even though we're having to maintain social distance, we need to share that spiritual walk, even though we can't gather together in a home for a small group or even necessarily in a coffee shop now. Still share that spiritual work that God is doing in your life. But don't just share your life with believers. Share your life with those who don't know Christ. Who in your neighborhood is lonely? Who in your neighborhood is fearful? Maybe it's a coworker, maybe it's family members. Share your life with people who don't know Christ. Tell them of the hope that you have that goes beyond this life and the crisis that we're in right now. Tell them about the hope that lies within you. Okay, fourth, serve one another. Serve people as much as you can. Now, I know we have restrictions on that right now. Meetings of 10 or more in the city of Austin are banned at this point, and we're trying to cooperate with the society-wide effort to slow the spread of this virus. So please be wise and be careful with that. but find ways to serve one another. Can you go do some grocery shopping for someone? Make sure that the older people in our church family are well taken care of. Make sure that you are communicating with them, even just to encourage them in the Lord, and make sure that they're doing okay. Serve your neighbors as much as possible. I can't say this enough. This is a gospel opportunity for the Church of Jesus Christ. So let us spread the love of Jesus across all of our friends who don't know the Lord at this point. Just make yourself available to them. You don't have to be extravagant. Just say, hey, I am here to serve you. I am here to help you if you need it, and then just check up on them from time to time. Christians throughout history have been known for serving during times of crisis, especially during times of plague. I talked about this on Sunday, and it's important for us to remember that the times in history when the testimony of the gospel coming through God's people has shined the brightest is during times of plague, times of societal crisis, when the people of God stepped forward and said, we will serve even if it costs our lives. And they have always served. So serve one another, just like Jesus came not to be served, but to serve and to give his life as a ransom for many. We are to follow in his footsteps and serve one another. Okay, last, and this is obviously related to serving, but give. Remember, there are many needs that need to be met. So give generously, and give sacrificially, because that's what the time now calls for us to give sacrificially in order to meet needs. If you know of a need personally and you can meet that need, just do it, person to person and before the Lord. That honors the Lord for you to just quietly meet somebody's need. I see that's already happening around our church family. So besides the practical things of serving someone to get groceries for them or whatever, meet their financial needs if you can. Small groups can get together to meet needs. I've heard that the federal government is talking about sending checks out to people. Well, if you get a check from the government and you say, honestly, before the Lord, I don't need this, then share it. Give it to someone or break it up and share it with people who are in financial need. So be creative. And don't forget, giving to the church is still important. We still have to pay bills here, and we still have to pay people, and we will have the opportunity, as I said, in church, in our last meeting at church on Sunday, we will have the opportunity to give through our benevolence program in order to help meet the needs of people that we encounter during this hard time. So please remember that you need to continue giving to the church, because that also supports a variety of people. I'll give you one example that you may not think of. We have a cleaning company that comes in once a week to clean our church facility. And the question arose, should we cancel the cleaning service because we're not going to be meeting here? We're just going to use the office for a few days a week. But we don't want to do that. We have the money right now, and so we want to continue to pay these people who otherwise won't have the income. So they are going to continue to come and clean a building that's not getting very dirty. So let's think creatively and remember that giving is a key aspect of gospel ministry at this point in our life. So to conclude, just pay attention. Keep a watch on Facebook, on Instagram. Please watch your email, because we will communicate directly with you through our church community builder system. That will come to your email. So make sure that you're paying attention to those things and participating. Maybe you're not a big fan of Facebook. I'm not a big fan either, but I'm committed to interacting with one another on Facebook and maybe even Instagram during this hard time. This is how we're going to communicate, how we're going to stay connected, how we're going to encourage one another and also have some fun. It's okay to have fun even when we're in a crisis like this. So make sure that you are paying attention, and we will stay in touch. God bless you, and let's all work together to stay together while apart.